Okay, I am going to start a new tutorial on installing a decoder on a freight car to simulate a end of train device, or FRED. And I've got a few of these Airslide hoppers that are usually used for a buffer service these days. I have this Burlington Northern one here that's already been weathered that I just washed. You might see some moisture on top of it there. I was looking at doing this one here, but it's a little tricky pulling the bottom off and then doing modifications to get the wiring through. I don't know, I didn't really want to mess it up. I'm trying to remember what brand this is. It might be Athearn. It's a nice freight car. It's got body mounted couplers on it. I think I'm just going to keep it Burlington Northern and weather it. But this one here, I think is, I'm trying to think of where it came from originally. Could be Deluxe Innovations. I have a 3-pack of them. And anyway, so I've been looking at roster shots on Railroad Picture Archives, and there's a couple here that were repainted with BNSF. And if you look at the reporting marks here, which is interesting, they just added the SF. There's the stock BN, and then patched a new number. But the Burlington Northern and the BN emblem are gone, and so I'm thinking about doing the same with this car on one side, just airbrushing over all this and find some decals to do the weight, load, and all that. And then I do have buffer service only decals like the stenciling you see here, and I've already done a couple other cars, but in brown or brown oxide, using those decals, and also patching them with the 808 numbering series, which is what BNSF has currently for their buffer cars. So anyway, I think we're going to clean this up. I'll set up the airbrush, and we're just going to paint one side. And then the other one, the other side, because I have found some pictures of other cars, if I can find here. Okay, here we go. So here's one that still has Burlington Northern. It's got some similar weathering like my car, but the stencil is there in the center. And there's some graffiti and stuff like that. So I'm thinking making one side, and you notice the Burlington Northern's pretty bright on this one here. My car, it's a little bit dark because I had used some chalks, I think. And then dull coated it. So there's no way I'm getting that off right now. That's pretty much permanent. But that's okay. It's already partially weathered. So we will leave that alone. We will repatch the BN and give it a new number and go from there. And then the decoders I've been using for this is the TL1 by Digitrax. It's a one-function decoder. It's got 4 leads. The black and the red are your pickups off the track, and then your white and blue are for the LED. And you do need to run a resistor, a 470 ohm resistor, or you'll burn it up. And then as far as the pickups, I've been getting them from Brian over at sbs4dcc.com. Where did I put those? Oh, here they are. These are the pickups here for N Scale. Okay, you can see I've used a few already. I just pop them out with a X-Acto blade and basically put them on the trucks, and then the wheel sets that I have here are actually the trucks. Where they go? These are micro trains, so I notice I have plastic wheels. So we're going to have to find some metal wheels. Intermountain wheels are really nice. The flanges are really shallow. They're very prototypical, so they do tend to pop off the rails more often than higher flange wheels sets. So I'll have to go through my stash here and find some metal wheels with one side insulated, the other side attached to the axle so that we can pick up our power. And the other option before I found these was I would strip the wire quite a ways and just wrap it around the axle, and I had some success doing it that way. But I think for this I will use these copper pickups, and we'll go through the programming and then the finished product of the LED flashing like a prototypical Fred. So that is going to be this project here, turning this standard Airslide into a buffer service car with a Fred. And it will be obviously into the train, so if you're running any unit trains, LP gas, ethanol, anything where there's hazardous materials where they need a buffer car, this would be the type of car you would like to have on your train. And you can put them on the rear too, even if you don't have a DPU. They're nice to have just trailing on the rear, so if they were to have a DPU, they have that safety, that little safety in the event of a derailment. So anyway, we're going to get started here. We'll start getting the paint mixed up here and airbrushing one side. Okay, so I've got my airbrush here in my garage, and I'm going to take a little bit of BN Cascade Green. This is from Tricolor Paint. You dilute it with acetone, and it's going to dry pretty quick. So I'm going to put a little bit in my cup here, and then hook up to my airbrush, and then we're just going to airbrush this one side, which I wiped down last night with a little bit of acetone and a rag. Kind of try to wipe some of the weathering off of there. You can see it started to remove part of the stenciling there. I did do the other side also, but also did some patchwork, and I'll show that here once I get this side here painted. We'll go back into the house here and get a little better closer look up at this. Try to throw this so you can kind of see it here, just in nice thin layers here. Let that sit a minute. The stuff that has acetone in it does not take that long to dry out. I had to spend some time here cleaning out my airbrush. The needle was all plugged up. So we got one little thin layer there. We're starting to cover it up. See a little wet spot there. Try not to fill my cup with too much paint. It's not going to require a whole lot to do this side. So just give it a minute here to dry out. We'll do another little coat. And then once I have this side done, then I will head over and start doing some decals on it. And it's not going to be prototypical. The numbers aren't going to really match the prototype that I'm going to be using. But it will be similar to others out there. Let's do another little thin coat here. By the way, I'm using about 40 pounds off my compressor here for the airbrush. That's pretty much standard, I think. Alright, once I'm done with this, then I'm going to clean my airbrush, put it away, and then we'll resume decaling. I'll just do another coat here. And back in '97, I read, when they merged with Santa Fe, they had quite a bit of stock of the BN Cascade Green. And so they had repainted some cars back then, covered hoppers with the BN, excuse me, the BNSF logo applied on it. And so I think that's probably what they did with a few of these Airslide hoppers that had some new paint on them. They painted over the BN symbol in the Burlington Northern, and then just added SF, left the existing BN lettering on their reporting marks, and then also renumbered them into the 808 numbering series. So I don't think I've seen one of these myself in green. I've seen a couple in brown, but they're not all that common where I live because we don't see too many BN unit trains. But some places I've gone to on vacation, I've caught one or so. Okay, I'm going to let that dry, and we'll go back inside and resume some decal work. So here is what I did last night with the decals on here. I used a standard BN decal. Originally this had a B on one side of the rib and the N on the other. Patched that over, did a standard BN lettering, and then found some in my collection of stencils, the SF, so they look like they're not matched. The car number 808, 838, those are actually decals that I altered from another decal kit. Unfortunately, the decal kit per sheet has 4 sets, but they did the same number, and so that's kind of annoying. I wish they would have done 4 different numbers. So anyway, I took the 838, which is actually the 8 from the 808, and these were originally 808 382, I think was the number. So it's not prototypical as far as the numbering. Added the plate C, buffer service only, and some more information decals on there. And this side too, I also took the acetone and a rag and just kind of wiped it down, tried to take some of the weathering off, but I kind of got this neat effect with the weathering there. It does have 1 layer of dull coat on it. So that's pretty much going to be this side of the car. And then the other side's the one we just painted. And so we're going to leave that kind of plain green. There's a little bit of Burlington Northern that's bleeding through, but I'm going to leave that. That looks cool. Oh, you can also see the BN through the stenciling. There's the B on one rib, and then the N was on the other. So I have some decals left over. I'm trying to remember, I think it's maybe Fusion Scale, or I'll get it correct that way. Here I need to do my research because I cut off the label here, but this is part of a set that they have here. You can see 808 382. This is half of a set here. They have the buffer service only, but they don't have the do not load. Off topic, I'll just show you what I've been doing also. I've got a bunch of these bath gons for BNSF, and I've noticed, especially with the BN, the green ones, I'm starting to see those now hauling dirty dirt or scrap metal, and they're patching them over. Since the coal production in this country has dropped, I don't know, close to 50%, I think a lot of these cars are not being used or in storage. They're starting to sell them off. and I'm starting to see the BN ones patched over. I've done a couple of my BN ones. This is a BNSF one that I patched for AEX, the Andersons. It's a fictitious car number, but it has a load of scrap metal that I got from Hay Brothers. They make some really nice loads for your gondolas and hopper cars and stuff. So fictitious car, but you know, patched over the BNSF logo there, decals, and renumbered it, and still has some weathering to do. I'm going to make this one look a little bit dirty because the aluminum on the sides, a lot of these cars are starting to get pretty brown from years and years of service with coal. So anyway, I'm going to continue on with decals here on our buffer car. Alright, so here's another example of some of the threads that I have that I've built. Another air slide for the Western Pacific. I also have a double stack in which the decoder and everything is inside the lower container there. I even have a couple of cabooses that I've put threads in, like this VN shoving platform. SP caboose, and this Fox Valley Gevo I bought used at the train show. It's gutted, so there's no motor, nothing, and it's basically a dummy in it. And I mistakenly bought a couple of low pilot function only decoders and realized that they do not control the motor, and I didn't want to hassle try to sending them back. So I put one in the Gevo here. So it's a DPU unit. You can see the tail lights glowing, and I have a thread on the coupler, which I'm starting to see that today on light power moves, etc. They're putting a thread at the on the power at the very end of the train. And I have this another Burlington Northern covered hopper with a thread on it. The last one I did that was a little bit of a challenge is a flat car with a pipe load. And you might wonder where the decoder is on this one. It's in the box car. And if you see between the cars, there are the wires for the LED. And so they have to be paired. And I haven't run this one much. It's more of a display. There's a lot of binding in it, so it's still kind of a project and use before I perfect it. But I always wanted to do a flat car and come up with a solution hiding decoder. In this case, I used the box car. Over here we have another Burlington Northern covered hopper that I've weathered with one on it, and then I also put one on this Montana Railway caboose. Now this one here, if I flip it up and turn it sideways here, I'm actually pulling the power off of each wheel. See if that will get me focused there, and you can probably see the strands of wires wrapped around. And that's how I was doing it for a while. Notice the flanges are huge. So if you're running this on code 55, that low profile rail, it's not going to work. I already tried that on a friend's club layout, and just was not working. But I'm not running that kind of track on mine. I'm running the cheap stuff. So and the main thing is just getting the one truck. Since I use usually the two those copper pickups, you know, both trucks have to make contact, but on this one here, it's just one. So we have some dull coat applied on our painted in here. I also laid down some safety stripes on the side here, those little yellow hash marks. So that's our painted side here. And on the back side, still have the old logo. Safety stripes added on there too. Gonna probably do a little more weathering here on the bottom. Get that a little grimy and dirty there. But we're just about ready to start putting the decoder in. So that's going to involve a little bit of drilling. We're going to drill 2 holes where the trucks go to feed the wires. And then I got a set of Intermountain wheels that I robbed off another car. I just put some other aftermarket wheels on for the time being. And so next is to start prepping this for the decoder. Okay, so we've let this dry for a few days. The oils have set in place. I'll just show this one too. This is the other one I worked on. It looks pretty nice. The shininess of the oil has kind of dulled out. A little bit of shine there on the top, but I used a sponge to get that effect on there. That came out pretty nice. The car looks a little more realistic with some of that staining there at the top part of the car. Still got to work on the ends, but anyway, that's that one there. Alright, so the next step is to drill. I'm using a pin vise, and I've already done one hole here by where the truck's going to go, and so we're going to drill to allow our wire to come through to pick up the power. So just drill a small hole right up there next to the truck kingpin. And next step, we're going to pull the top off here and start putting our decoder in there. I got the soldering iron heated up, so I'm going to pull. We're going to use the TL1 on this one here from Digitrax. I'm going to pull that out of the package, and I usually have some leftover wire from these mini micro 402 LEDs like this one here, if you can see it, and the wire that comes with it, it's pretty long, like 6 inches I think. I have some another style of LED where the wires are single strand, a little bit thicker, but this is stranded, and it's real flexible, and so I will probably run a piece of that through here to allow movement so that the wheels can pivot easily on curves, and we'll solder those onto the ends of the wires on the decoder because they're a little bit stiffer. I'll also solder a 470 ohm resistor, probably this one here that I have that's used but still works. And then the LEDs, let me go through my stash here and find my LEDs. I got several packages of them that I used for both Freds and lighting on locomotives, usually in the warm white color. So I got a few here. These ones are the real tiny ones that I have, and may probably use one of them. Like I said, I got to go through my stash. I have another style that's a little bit bigger than these 412s. I forget what the number is on them, but they're just a little bit bigger, And you can get those in a variety of colors, but I'm usually buying them in warm white and red. Those are the two colors that I use for my projects. So, and I get those on eBay. You just search, usually they come overseas, but they're fairly easy to find, and you can get them like, I don't know, like up to a 50 pack of them. Or these ones here are 20 pack, and it says warm white, so the ones I just pulled out. So anyway, we'll get to some wiring here. I got the soldering iron warmed up, so we'll come back here in a few minutes to show you the wiring process complete. Alright, so here's my decoder assembly here. I've got the LED wired up. The yellow heat shrink tubing is where the resistor is. And then I soldered on the real thin wires, red and black here for the pickups. So those will be fed through the two holes in here. I also did a third hole on the back for the LED to fit through. So I'm going to fit those through and then solder those to these copper pickups here. And then we'll set those in place. I'll have to polish the axles on the wheel sets here. I've got a track cleaner that I can use, which I did on a couple cars before to kind of shine that up so we get a good contact. And then put the wheel sets on and program it, see if we get some light out of it. Okay, so the car's pretty much done. I've got everything all wired up. I have a an old truck that had Rapido couplers on it that I put a replacement like knuckle coupler on there, and you can see the LED, and that's glued down with some white glue. And we'll flip the car over here, and you can see what the wheels, we'll flip it upside down, how I have the wheels with the pickups. Those are Athearn wheels. You can see the insulated side there on this set of trucks, and then we have the solid side over here, it appears. I don't have my glasses on. Anyway, that is how it's wired. You can see those copper tabs. There's my solder joint, and then we have a really small hole going down under into the inside. With the top off, I have some weights, fishing weight, as you can see, some ball bearings and some modeling clay, along with the decoder, which you can see it there, and the wires. Everything's all insulated. I do put a lot of weight on mine because if there's not enough weight, the wheels, even with clean track, clean wheels, you'll get some flickering. Unless if you want to install a what is it called? If you want to install a keep alive into your circuit, I've never done that. I haven't looked into that yet, but there's another piece of modeling clay. But I stuff a lot of weight on these. Yes, it's going to add a lot more drag to your train, but as you saw on my other earlier video here, when the train's being pulled around in my layout, you have that steady flash, make it look realistic. Okay, so here's the other side. Got the top back on, and let's go put on the layout. I have already programmed it, but I will show you what my settings are and give you a demonstration of what it looks like finished here. I'm pretty happy with the weathering on this right now. I did add a little bit of wet chocks to the trucks. I'm not going to weather the wheels themselves. I'm just going to leave them as is, just so we don't have any issues with them rolling. It is a little sticky. You can see it's not really free rolling because it has those copper tabs making contact with the axle, so that's going to add more drag to your train set too. But that's just how I do it. Okay, so here I've highlighted the settings here that I use. So for CB49, I go with 0.4 for the value for single pulse, and then 60 the CB controlling value number 62 set it to 7. Even though it says fastest, it's actually the slowest. So I don't know what's up with that. Anyway, and then you can give it an address too. On my car, I did 838 because those are the last 3 of my number there. So anyway, there it is on the layout. And let me give my engines a little bit. And stand by 1 second. Okay, here we go. Oh, come on now. My trains are a little cold right now. It's a little cold in this room and I just fired it up, so bear with me here. Anyway, you can see the flash is pretty steady. I'm going to go through a switch here, so I might get a little flicker. Okay, and we'll try a reverse move here, shoving it so you can see the flash. A little bit of a flicker through the switch there, obviously. That happens. Okay. Anyway, hopefully that gives you guys some ideas for wiring these up and making your own end of train flashing device. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video and that you learned something. Thanks for watching.